Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. While listening, you'll be exposed to inspiring, empowering, and unifying perspectives that I'm highly confident will yield stellar results in your life if you opt to try them on for size. Also, at optimistic.tv, we have officially begun releasing the first few episodes of our new late-night style, consciousness-elevating video variety talk show, Optimistic, which features live visionary art, soul share interviews, retreat guests here at the Mystic Manor, as well as live musical performances. I'm also super excited to announce that we are currently making plans to release the rest of Season 1 on my personal favorite online streaming service. So stay tuned to optimistic.tv to follow the unfolding development of this exciting Optimistic expansion, as we'll be posting more info and release dates there soon. And in the meantime, be sure to check out, of course, the first few episodes at optimistic.tv as well. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record, and we are going to continue on the path. Today we're going to continue on the path of forgiveness via the essay by Emmet Fox. We've been reading from the 23 essays that Emmet Fox wrote almost 100 years ago now. And they came to my attention when I had this download for my new book, The Golden Key, that is going to be coming out now. It looks like in December. It was originally, I was pushing for November, but yeah, with creative ventures, turns out you can't force a delivery date. So very excited for it to come out. And when I had the download, of what the book would be about and how to release it in a dream state, and then was looking up the name that came to me, which was The Golden Key, I found Emmet Fox's essay, which is the most well-known of the 23. And I was just really surprised and excited about the synchronicity of how he was sort of approaching the information, in a sort of a gamified way. And the same as I'm going to be doing with my Golden Key here almost 100 years later. And I'm going to be gifting it to all of you guys, by the way. The website's going to be goldenkey.gift, so I'm giving it away. And and then we're going to play a game together that you'll read about towards the end of it, and super, super excited about it. If you guys want to be on the list to know when it's coming out, you can go to positivehead.com and join the mailing list, or optimistic.tv and get on the list there. And either way, both of those lists will be getting notified as soon as it's coming out. So. Or, of course, on the show. So if you're tuning in regularly. Otherwise, I'm going to pick up. We're almost down. We've read most of the 23 essays thus far. And today, what is popping up is forgiveness. So, we're going to read the essay called Forgiveness. It's a little longer than the others, so this might be the only one we get to today. I'm going to read it. Haven't read it yet, by the way. I'm just learning and reading with you guys, and then I'm going to share my perspectives on Emmet's perspective and see where it takes us. I've talked a lot, even speaking of in The Golden Key, I talk about the idea of forgiveness and reference my favorite book of all time, which is The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It's a children's book. You can read it in 10 or 15 minutes. Highly recommend all you kids from, 9 to 99 to order it, because it's such a beautiful perspective on forgiveness and how we actually set up all the challenges and pains in our life, the villains in our story, so that we could have the opportunity to forgive. Guaranteed to bring tears to your eyes, or streaming down your face, or your karma back. And so let's see. I bet you Emmet has a similar thread of understanding. I mean, he starts out, Emmet tends to approached things from referencing the Bible a lot, and he certainly was one of the early bridges between more traditional religious perspectives and sort of spiritual-centric view, and he leans a lot on Bible and whatnot, and I think there's a lot of great teachings in the Bible that were misconstrued and sort of hijacked and turned into dogmatic teachings that really repressed or kind of did harm in many ways, and that's perfect too. That's all part of the journey of humanity and mankind. So yeah, forgiveness. I forgive anyone who hijacked the Bible and made it into some dogmatic thing that was all about power and control. And this first thing at the very top of this essay is a Bible verse. Forgive us our trespass as we forgive them that trespass against us. And I recognize this from childhood, hearing this particular scripture. It doesn't say what scripture, but that's the top of this. And yeah, I'll go on and continue reading. Let's see what Emmet has to say. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. This clause is the turning point of the prayer. It is the strategic key to the whole treatment. Let us notice here that Jesus has so arranged this marvelous prayer that it covers the entire ground of the unfoldment of our souls completely and in the most concise and telling way. It omits nothing that is essential for our salvation, and yet so compact is it that there is not a thought or a word too much. Every idea fits into its place with perfect harmony and in perfect sequence. Anything more would be redundance. Anything less would be incompleteness. And at this point, it takes up the critical factor of forgiveness. Having told us what God is, what man is, how the universe works, how we are to do our own work, the salvation of humanity and of our own souls, he then explains what our true nourishment or supply is and the way in which we can obtain it. And now he comes to the forgiveness of sins. The forgiveness of sins is a central problem of life. Sin is a sense of separation from God and is a major tragedy of human experience. It is, of course, rooted in selfishness. It is essentially an attempt to gain some supposed good to which we are not entitled in justice. It is a sense of isolated, self-regarding personal existence, whereas the truth of being is that all is one. Our true selves are at one with God, undivided from him, expressing his ideas, witnessing to his nature, the dynamic thinking of that mind. Because we are all one with the great whole of which we are spiritually a part, it follows that we are one with all men. Just because in him we live and move and have our being, we are, in the absolute sense, all essentially one. Evil, sin, the fall of man, in fact, is essentially the attempt to negative this truth in our thoughts. We try to live apart from God. We try to do without him. We act as though we had life on our own, as separate minds, as though we could have plans and purposes and interests separate from his. All this, if it were true, would mean that existence is not one and harmonious, but a chaos of competition and strife. It would mean that we are quite separate from our fellow man and could injure him, rob him, or hurt him, or even destroy him without any damage to ourselves. And in fact, that the more we took from other people, the more we should have for ourselves. It would mean that the more we considered our own interest and the more indifferent we were to the welfare of others, the better off we should be. Of course, it would then follow naturally that it would pay others to treat us in the same way, and that accordingly we might expect many of them to do so. Now, if this were true, it would mean that the whole universe is only a jungle and that sooner or later it must destroy itself by its own inherent weakness and anarchy. But of course, it is not true, and therein lies the joy of life. Undoubtedly, many people do act as though they believed it to be true, and a great many more who would be dreadfully shocked if brought face to face with that proposition in cold blood have, nevertheless, a vague feeling that such must be very much the way things are, even though they themselves are personally above consciously acting in accordance with such a notion. Now, this is the real basis of sin, of resentment, of condemnation, of jealousy, of remorse, and all the evil brood that walk the path. This belief in independent and separate existence is the arch sin. And now, before we can progress any further, we have to take the knife to this evil thing and cut it out once and for all. Jesus knew this, and with this definite end in view, he inserted at this critical point a carefully prepared statement that would compass our end and his without the shadow of a possibility of miscarrying. He inserted what is nothing less than a trip clause. He drafted a declaration which would force us, without any conceivable possibility of escape, evasion, mental reservation, or subterfuge of any kind, to execute the great sacrament of forgiveness in all its fullness and far-reaching power. As we repeat the great prayer intelligently, considering and meaning what we say, we are suddenly, so to speak, caught up off our feet and grasped as though in a vice, so that we must face this problem, and there is no escape. We must positively and definitely extend forgiveness to everyone to whom it is possible that we can owe forgiveness, namely to anyone who we think can have injured us in any way. Jesus leaves no room for any possible glossing of this fundamental thing. He has constructed his prayer with more skill than ever yet lawyer displayed in the casting of a deed. He has so contrived it that once our attention has been drawn to this matter, we are inevitably obliged either to forgive our enemies in sincerity and truth, or never again to repeat that prayer. It is safe to say that no one who reads this booklet with understanding will ever again be able to use the Lord's Prayer unless and until he has forgiven. Should you now attempt to repeat it without forgiving, it can safely be predicted that you will not be able to finish it. This great central clause will stick in your throat. Notice that Jesus does not say, "Forgive me my trespasses, and I will try to forgive others," or "I will see if it can be done," or "I will forgive generally with certain exceptions." He obliges us to declare that we have actually forgiven and forgiven all, and he makes our claim to our own forgiveness to depend upon that. Who is there who has grace enough to say his prayer at all? Who does not long for the forgiveness or cancellation of his own mistakes and faults? Who would be so insane as to endeavor to seek the kingdom of God without desiring to be relieved of his own sense of guilt? No one, we may believe. And so, we see that we are trapped in the inescapable position that we cannot demand our own release before we have released our brother. The forgiveness of others is the vestibule of heaven, and Jesus knew it and has led us to that door. You must forgive everyone who has ever hurt you if you want to be forgiven yourself. That is the long and the short of it. You have to get rid of all the resentment and condemnation of others, and not least of self-condemnation and remorse. You have to forgive others, and having discontinued your own mistakes, you have to accept the forgiveness of God for them too, or you cannot make any progress. You have to forgive yourself, but you cannot forgive yourself sincerely until you have forgiven others first. Having forgiven others, you must be prepared to forgive yourself too. For us to refuse to forgive oneself is only spiritual pride. And by that, sin fell the angels. We cannot make this point too clear to ourselves. We have got to forgive. There are few people in the world who have not at some point or other been hurt, really hurt, by someone else, or been disappointed or injured or deceived or misled. Such things sink into the memory where they usually cause inflamed and festering wounds, and there is only one remedy. They have to be plucked out and thrown away. And the one and only way to do that is by forgiveness. Of course, nothing in all the world is easier than to forgive people who have not hurt us very much. Nothing is easier than to rise above the thoughts of a trifling loss. Anybody will be willing to do this, but what the law of being requires of us is that we forgive not only these trifles, but the very things that are so hard to forgive that at first it seems impossible to do it at all. The despairing heart cries, "It is too much to ask. That thing meant too much to me. It is impossible. I cannot forgive it." But the Lord's Prayer makes our own forgiveness from God, which means our escape from guilt and limitation, dependent upon just this very thing. There is no escape from this, and so forgiveness there must be, no matter how deeply we may have been injured or how terribly we have been suffered. It must be done. If your prayers are not being answered, search your consciousness and see if there's not someone whom you have yet to forgive. Find out if there's not some old thing about which you are very resentful. Search and see if you are not really holding a grudge. It may be camouflaged in some righteous way against some individual or somebody of people, a nation, a race, a social class, some religious movement of which you disapprove perhaps, a political party or whatnot. If you are doing so, then you have an act of forgiveness to perform. And when this is done, you will probably make your demonstration. If you cannot forgive at present, you will have to wait for your demonstration until you can. And you will have to postpone finishing your recital of the Lord's Prayer too, or involve yourself in the position that you do not desire the forgiveness of God. Setting others free means setting yourself free, because resentment is really a form of attachment. It is a cosmic truth that it takes two to make a prisoner, the prisoner and a jailer. There's no such thing as being a prisoner on one's own account. Every prisoner must have a jailer, and the jailer is as much a prisoner as his charge. When you hold resentment against anyone, you're bound to that person by a cosmic link, a real, though mental chain. You are tied by a cosmic tie to the thing that you hate. The one person perhaps in the whole world whom you most dislike is the very one to whom you are attaching yourself by a hook that is stronger than steel. Is this what you wish? Is this the condition in which you desire to go on living? Remember, you belong to the thing with which you are linked in thought, and at some time or other, if that tie endures, the object of your resentment will be drawn again into your life, perhaps to work further havoc. Do you think that you can afford this? Of course, no one can afford such a thing, and so the way is clear. You must cut all such ties by a clear and spiritual act of forgiveness. You must loose him and let him go. By forgiveness, you set yourself free. You save your soul. And because the law of love works alike for one and all, you help to save his soul too, making it just so much easier for him to become what he ought to be. But how in the name of all that is wise and good is the magic act of forgiveness to be accomplished when we have been so deeply injured that though we have long wished with all our hearts that we could forgive, we have nevertheless found it impossible, when we have tried and tried to forgive but have found the task beyond us? The technique of forgiveness is simple enough and not very difficult to manage when you understand how. The only thing that is essential is willingness to forgive. Provided you desire to forgive the offender, the greater part of the work is already done. People have always made such a bogey of forgiveness because they have been under the erroneous impression that to forgive a person means that you have to compel yourself to like him. Happily, this is by no means the case. We are not called upon to like anyone whom we do not find ourselves liking spontaneously. And indeed, it is quite impossible to like people to order. You can no more like to order than you can hold the winds in your fist. And if you endeavor to coerce yourself into doing so, you will finish by disliking or hating the offender more than ever. People used to think that when someone had hurt them very much, it was their duty as good Christians to pump up, as if it were, a feeling of liking for him. And since such a thing is utterly impossible, they suffered a great deal of distress and ended necessarily with failure and a resulting sense of sinfulness. We are not obliged to like anyone, but we are under a binding obligation to love everyone. Love, or charity as the Bible calls it, meaning a vivid sense of impersonal goodwill. This has nothing directly to do with the feelings, though it is always followed, sooner or later, by a wonderful feeling of peace and happiness. The method of forgiveness is this: get by yourself and become quiet. Repeat in any prayer or treatment that appeals to you, or read a chapter of the Bible. Then quietly say, I fully and freely forgive X, mentioning the name of the offender. I loose him and let him go. I completely forgive the whole business in question. As far as I'm concerned, it is finished forever. I cast the burden of resentment upon the Christ within me. He is free now, and I am free too. I wish him well in every phase of his life. That incident is finished. The Christ truth has set us both free. I thank God. And then get up, go about your business. On no account repeat this act of forgiveness, because you have done it once and for all. And to do it a second time would be tacitly repudiate your own work. Afterward, whenever the memory of the offender or the offense happens to come into your mind, bless the delinquent briefly and dismiss the thought. Do this however many times the thought may come back. After a few days, it will return less and less often until you forget it altogether. Then perhaps after an interval, shorter or longer, the old trouble may come back to memory once more, but you will find that now all bitterness and resentment have disappeared, and you are both free with the perfect freedom of the children of God. Your forgiveness is complete. You will experience a wonderful joy in the realization of the demonstration. Everybody should practice general forgiveness every day as a matter of course. When you say your daily prayers, issue a general amnesty. Forgive everyone who may have injured you in any way, and on no account particularize. Simply say, I freely forgive everyone. Then in the course of the day, should the thought of grievance or resentment come up, bless the offender briefly and dismiss the thought. The result of this policy will be that very soon you will find yourself cleared of all resentment and condemnation, and the effect upon your happiness, your bodily health, and your general life will be nothing less than revolutionary. All right, that's the essay called Forgiveness. And I love this one. It's such a huge part of who and what we are and what we're all here to do, I believe. It's I feel like we all have these themes and we have unique stories and trajectories, and then there's like constants for each of us as humans. Self-love being the number one thing we're here to learn, I feel, all of us. And forgiveness is something that we all are meant to have a go at, about with, right? And having that thing, that experience, that person, that event, whatever, to forgive and to really, and we've all, like you said in the essay, small forgiveness, that's relatively easy. It's the big stuff, and I feel like most everyone has something like that, some skeleton in their closet, if they will. They haven't forgiven many times. People have, and maybe there's some of you out there who've done this work. And congratulations, you've seen the results from it, I'm sure. And I love the quote. To understand is to forgive all that has taken place. To really understand how this game works, and it's why I love that book, The Little Soul in the Sun, so much, because it really breaks this down. The idea of this little soul that wanted the experience of forgiveness, floating in eternity and perfection and divine bliss and light. Imagine that for eternity. And then the adventurous soul that you are saying, I want something new. I want to experience forgiveness. And in that book, another soul steps forward and basically says, look, we can create this scenario, this other world where we go to, and I'll create a scenario for you to forgive. But in order to do this awful thing to you, I'll have to have forgotten myself, and I'll be suffering. I'll be cut off from my divine, goodness, in a sense, in order to do this awful thing. And so please, whatever you do in that moment that I do this awful thing, please remember me as I am here now, because I will have forgotten myself. And if you don't remember me, I may be gone and lost for a very long time. And when you really understand this is the story of mankind, how beautiful the offender truly is. It's like Eben Alexander said when I had him on the show a long time ago, the Harvard neurosurgeon who went into a coma and, saw how the whole structure on the other side is broken down. I remember him saying to me, the greatest villains in your story are often those you're closest to on the other side, the closest in your soul families. And when you think about that and feel into that truth, it really brings the perspective necessary to start down the path of forgiveness, I believe. And you're ready for it. Those of you out there who are hearing this and it's resonating, and congratulations to even get to this point, because what happens if we don't forgive? What's the resentment? And what happens when resentment festers? What happens when any, thing festers? Any energy becomes stagnant, right? Take a pool of water and cut it off from flowing. And what happens? It gets stagnant, and, bacteria and algae, and it turns into disease. Dis-ease turns into disease in your body. You ain't got time for that. You deserve better than that. And set that person free. It's like Jesus also said, forgive them when they're putting him on the cross. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. He got it in that moment, right? That's the Christed self that Emmet's referred to. Jesus was a man that came, died, will not come back. When he talked about coming back, I believe he's talking about Christ consciousness. This information, this message, this knowing that we are all divine, that we are all have that inner Christ, consciousness, that next version of mankind waiting to live from the perspective of understanding who and what they truly are, understanding the ultimate nature of reality. This is your divine destiny and birthright, and you're ready. You're ready, and forgiveness is a huge piece in that. And you actually, when you get to the other side, mark my words, that person that did this awful thing that you've been resentment about, you're going to give them a big thank you. Isn't that wild to think about? That actually it's in service to you? Like, what a script flip, right? Wow. I've seen it said that you don't forgive for the person that did harm to you. You do it for yourself. And yes, you do it for yourself. And like Emmet said here, you do it for them. What a great gift to set someone free who has done something at the root of the offense as a gift to you. And they suffered. Make no mistake, they suffered in the process. They're suffering in order to be able to even be in a state where they're capable of doing something as ugly as they did. If you're in a place of happiness, joy, and fulfillment, you're not even able to do that sort of thing. So what a great gift to not only do it for yourself, but to do it for them. What an opportunity that you have to end the karmic cycle as well. As Emmet talked about here, if you keep holding resentment, that is a surefire way to keep hooks energetically tied to that person. You have to. This is the karmic cycle that goes on and on and on. And this is how we exit the karmic wheel, I believe, is what happens is, I do something bad to you. Okay, next life, you do something bad to me. Okay, we keep going and going and going until someone is wise enough to say, I forgive all. I'm stepping out of the game. I'm stepping off the wheel. Love is the answer now. What was the question? Whew. Well, I'm super proud of you for showing up. We're doing it. We're finding our way through. We're walking each other home. And it feels great to take the journey with each and every one of you. I've got a song for you guys. This is Trevor Hall. It's called Put Down What You Are Carrying. It's with Brett Dennen also on the track. Till next time, journey well. Love you so, so much. Also, before we cue up today's song, I wanted to remind you about the game with the universe on our website, where you can choose the first number that comes to your mind and it'll pull up that episode number of the podcast. I've been saying this is a great way to co-create synchronicity and magic with your higher self for quite some time. And if you go to positivehead.com/universe, there is a super fun and simple interface to play this game with your higher self. I firmly believe just by setting the intention to play in this way, it opens up the door for magic, and it's a synchronistic way to hone in on nuggets of wisdom out of the huge catalog of episodes that are specifically appropriate for you at this time in your journey to becoming the next greatest and greatest version of yourself. And it also makes for a super fun way to spark the curiosity of friends and family by having them choose a number, so they'll hopefully go and check out their number as well, which I greatly appreciate because it helps us to spread the word about the podcast. Once again, the address is positivehead.com/universe. And as a quick reminder, if you're curious to learn more about Purium superfoods and why I take them almost every day, be sure to also check out positivehead.com/transformation. On this journey of becoming the next greatest and grandest version of ourselves that we have all embarked upon, I cannot stress the importance of managing your physical vibration enough. And quite honestly, Purium has put together the simplest plan I've found to do so. I have my favorite, the appleberry shake, at least 5 times a week. Once again, to learn more about the Purium transformation, go to positivehead.com/transformation. Or if you want to keep it simple and just try out my favorite, the appleberry shake, you can go straight over to ishoppurium.com and be sure to use code positivehead for 25% off. I'll spell that for you. It's ishoppurium.com. And be sure to use your Positive Head 25% coupon code.
Just a thought. Yeah, the hangar. Sunbury. Yeah, flying the plane. Flying out.
Don't you go to war with yourself. I heard it come through the rain. without you I carry it. Yeah. Put down